Hello lovely people, it's Nicola back in the Stitches and Slapdashery sewing room. It's freezing down here. It's such a beautiful sunny day that the upstairs is warm and the thermostat is not making the heat pump fire, so I'm cold down here. But at least spring is here, or on the verge of being here. We've got temperatures in the teens this week, even though the nights are still around 1 or 2 or 3 degrees Celsius, and I think it's supposed to get to 17 on Monday. Wow, that'll be warm. We had a lovely walk along the waterfront yesterday. Went to our usual tea shop, which hasn't been a very frequent occurrence in the last couple of months, but we went to our usual tea shop yesterday, and we had Mr. Stitches and we had a walk along the waterfront, and it was like, oh, things are getting back to normal again. Felt really good. So, big ta-da today. The granny pants are done. So, I got a bit of film of me finishing them off and modeling them outside yesterday, but I'll just show you them here as well. This is a pattern by Yarnspirations. I think they called them the Crochet Smarty pants. Yeah, I'll put in a bit of film, maybe a photograph as well, so that you can get a better look at them. But they are done. I think if I had had enough black, they would have looked better if all the squares had been bordered in black and also the joining slip stitches had been done in black. But that doesn't matter. When they said to do the 2 rounds at the legs, the leg ends, I did 1 because they're already long enough and I didn't want to add too much extra length. For the waistband, I did the whole waistband. I even added a row because I thought there was not going to be enough room for my rear end. And then I tried them on and they were far too baggy. They were a couple inches too low down at the crotch and too fluffy around the waist. So I ended up ripping it all out except for the round of granny square clusters. So I left in the round of granny square clusters that I'd done in the orange. And then I just did a round of single crochet, and I made the chain with 2 strands of the yarn. So it's just a chain, but with 2 strands to make it a bit more substantial. And they fit perfectly. It does help that they have this crotch piece right here, which goes across from the top of one leg to the top of the other leg, which gives you a nice bit of room to move. And I'm glad now that I didn't try making, or rather that I abandoned the idea of making my own back in November, because I don't know if I would have figured out how to put a crotch gusset in, and the fit would have probably not been as good. They're so fun. I crocheted these, I think, with a 5.5 mil hook and all worsted weight stash. It took about 850 grams. And the funny thing is that after I had finished these, I weighed what I had left in my worsted stash. I've got about 880 grams still. So I could actually make a second pair of these. I did offer to make Mr. Stitches a pair, but for some reason he declined. I don't know what his problem is, honestly. I really don't. Each time I put them on, I don't want to take them off again. They're so comfortable. There has been a little bit of denim sewing this week. It was a little frustrating. You know, you see these things on Instagram or wherever where they make this tiny little pouch and it looks so easy. It looks like it'll take you 5 minutes, and instead it doesn't. But I did add a little bit of inventory to the market pile. I started with this one because I wanted to use a bit of something that looked recognizably like a piece of jeans. I used a belt loop for this piece here, and an actual recovered jean zipper for the top. So this zipper size dictated the size I was able to cut, because with it being a metal zipper, you don't want to be trying to sew through it. So with this one, because I don't know if it was me who cut the zipper out of the jeans or somebody else, but there was hardly any zipper tape left at this end here. And so I put a tab on it to hold it all together. And then this end, I folded the tape under so it just disappears into the seam, which is good. And you get 2 little extra outer pockets and a small pouch, which has sort of an animal print on it. I quite like it, but I should have done what the person on Instagram did and interface it first, because these jeans are stretchy and so they do tend to stretch out. I think I accidentally used the wrong side of the denim on the back. It doesn't really matter. Still looks okay. And then this one, I used some of the denim that I had dyed with coral coloured Rit dye. And it was again dictated by the length of the metal zipper. It's got a couple of the seams left in there. And I used an orange lining. The main reason for that, I am not convinced that the dye won't run if somebody washes this, and I thought, okay, it's coral coloured dye, I'll use an orange lining, and that way it doesn't matter. There's a bit of running, dye leakage, crocking. So that's really, really basic little pouch. And then I made this one. I like this one a lot because this pair of jeans had sort of built-in creased look in the denim. I think that's probably what they looked like new. They had this sort of creased effect around the legs. And so I made sure to put that on the front. I used a belt loop again on the side and a metal zipper. I think this was probably a new metal zipper rather than one I got from a pair of jeans, maybe. And the inside has a Canadian maple leaf print on the inside. So that one is a little better. And then, so one thing about making the continuous zipper pouches where you use half of the zipper, just one side, and you put it all the way around the top of the bag, so you end up with a lot of little pieces. This is my little catchment area for little pieces of half zipper. So you end up with one side in varying lengths, sometimes longer pieces, sometimes short pieces. And I've been collecting them because I didn't like to throw them away. So what I ended up doing yesterday, I thought, okay, I'm going to take a piece of denim and I'm going to sew a bunch of those zip strips to one side. And I started doing that and I thought, okay, so they're kind of flappy. You can see that you can lift them and see the stitching underneath. So then I did some going the other way to hold it down partly. And that's what I ended up with. So I started at the top, sewed the purple on, then overlapped it with the pink, sewed that on, and so on all the way down. And then I did these. The one downside to doing the verticals is you end up with a lot of bulk up by the zipper there. It doesn't matter too much when it goes into the seam, but when it goes into the zipper, not great. So, of course, putting this red zipper into the bag meant I ended up with another little random piece cut off. So I put a fun dot print on the inside, and then where I had stitched, I did top stitch this side, but I think it would have been nigh on impossible on this side. So I stitched just the lining, but I ended up with some elongated skipped stitches right where it got really thick there, even though I trimmed as much back as I could. I ended up having to do a little bit of hand stitching there to tack down the elongated stitches, so it's not perfect. But I think it looks kind of fun. Colourful. I won't be charging much for those, I don't think. They're not that great. The Blast from the Past project du jour is this shawl here, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. It came out beautifully. The pattern is called Cakes 2 to Tango, and it was designed for 2 cakes of Lion Brand mandala. And you use either two different cakes of the same colorway, I guess, as long as you start them at different points in the color changing sequence. But I used 2 completely different colorways. I used Gnome and Troll, I think. Hold on a minute, I need to check that. Yep. So I made this in 2020. And I used Lion Brand Mandala, Gnome and Troll, and it's a DK weight yarn. It's written for this yarn. And I just love the way the colours play against each other as they graduate through the cakes. Just think it's amazing. I'd wear a sweater like that. But then you know me and my bright colours. So the designer. The designer for that is Gwen Kok, K-O-K. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. I would think there's probably only one way to pronounce it, but you never know. And it's a free Ravelry download, so I'll link to it under the video as usual, so you can go and check it out. It has a nice little picot edging on it as well. I'm really kicking myself at the moment and racking my brains, trying to think of where I might have put my other microphone. The set came with 2, and it's really nice to have 2 because you can have one charging while you're using the other. And do I know where the other one's gone? Nope. I came down here today and I saw there was one on my sewing table, and I looked everywhere. I've looked all the way around in here. I've looked all the way around where I sit upstairs in the living room, the coffee table, under the sofa. I looked in my closet in case it was still clipped to something. I looked at the last video I recorded to see what I was wearing when I was using it last. And I wore that top yesterday to go out for that walk, and it definitely wasn't attached to that sweater. So I'm hoping it turns up. I have this horrible feeling it might have gone through the laundry. Although I did check the laundry today before I put it in, or gone in the trash and I threw it out by mistake, or maybe it's just stuffed into something when I scooped up some mess on my sewing room table. I don't know, but I'm just so annoyed. If I have to buy some more, it's not the end of the world. They're not that expensive, but still, it's just, I wish I knew where it was. Hate that feeling where you've lost something and you just really, really want to know where it is. I have a new work in progress. As soon as I finished those granny square pants, of course, I needed to start a new project. I am using this Ice Yarns Sweet Baby, which surprisingly wasn't in Ravelry's database, so I had to contribute it because I don't know if it's really new or what, or whoever's already bought it just hasn't put it on Ravelry because it wasn't there. It's made in Turkey. If you don't know, Ice Yarns is based in Turkey. And I have 4 balls of this, which were generously donated to me by a supporter. Thank you. And I thought, time to see what to make with it. Because it is obviously meant to be a baby yarn, and I feel like that would be a good use for it. Make a baby blanket. I had a little look around at what was available, and I went for Frankie Brown's pattern called 10 Stitch Twist. So I don't know if you know a Frankie Brown, but she's quite a prolific designer. And she initially came out a long time ago with a 10-stitch blanket. And it was a blanket where you started in the middle and you just went around in this spiral doing, in garter stitch, doing special shaping at the corners to go around the corner, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And your rows are all 10 stitches long. So it's a lot of back and forth. So you could just use short needles. You could just do this on double pointed needles, like 2 of them. But I'm using a short cable with my Knit Picks Caspian tips. And I decided to do the 10-stitch twist, which is a circular version. And this is where I'm at so far. So you start, let me see, I think the yellow is where I started. So you make these pie-shaped wedges with short rows until you get to here, and then you start here, and because you need to graduate back up to 10 stitches, you increase here, and you join as you go, so you get back to 10 stitches, and then you just go round and round and round until you get back to your marker, and then she'll give you a different increase type sequence for the next round and the next round. So it works, and once you finish that first circle, it starts to spiral, and so there's no more fiddly shenanigans. This point right here gave me so much hassle, because she said to bind off 9 stitches. You had 1 stitch left on your needle, and then she said knit front and back so you have 2 stitches, and then start the part where you're joining and increasing. And I think it took me at least half an hour to figure it out. I was getting quite frustrated, and I'm like, how is this going to work? I've got 2 stitches here, and she says knit 1, join, knit 1. How does that work? But every instruction is for a ridge of garter, not a row. And so it's back and forth. And I chose the chain join. You can do a flatter join as you go, but I chose the chain because I think it looks prettier. And at first that seems really daunting as well. I'm like, how am I ever going to be able to do this without looking at the piece of paper every time? Because it's slip 1 knitwise, yarn over, pick up, knit, pass 2 stitches over, turn, purl the stitch, no, slip the stitch purlwise. That's your join. And at first you're like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to get this? And then of course after you've done it a few times it clicks. And I think it works really well with the color changes in here. This yarn has some green and purple in it. I haven't got to the green and purple yet, but it's quite fun. These are 4mm tips, or size 6 US. So they're quite small needles for me. But because the rows are short, and at the moment on this round, there's only two different rows to do. You're doing a knit 9, join, knit 9 back, and then the row 2 of the repeat is knit 8, wrap and turn, knit 8. So it just alternates around. So all of this really kind of more complicated stuff has happened in the middle. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to the green and the purple and seeing how the colours land next to each other. And I think that'll make a really fun baby blanket. It's 100% acrylic, and it is, does it even have the washing instructions on here? It doesn't. Yes, it does. Okay, so it says 100% anti-pilling acrylic, 100 grams, 265 meters, number 3 weight, DK, 4mm recommended needle, which is what I'm using. And then washing instructions are 30 degrees. Looks like you can probably, I think it might be hand wash 30 degrees, but I don't know about that. Obviously no iron. No, I mean, obviously no iron. If you iron this stuff, it would melt into a hard, nasty blob, wouldn't it? So definitely no ironing. What I'm hoping to do today is get some progress made on another project, another upcycled denim project. In a way, I feel bad for missing out on the sunshine. But Mr. Stitches is heading off to a couple of shops where he wants to check some things out. I've asked him to pick me up an 8-foot long plank of wood so that I can make shelves for my market stall. And I'm quite happy to stay here and sew as long as it's not a frustrating session of sewing. I went to bed about, I don't know, 11 o'clock last night, and I lay there and my brain was ticking over with all the things I wanted to sew and the specific backpack idea I want to actually make work. And when I finally looked at the clock, it was 12:30 and I hadn't been to sleep yet. And it was a little bit longer than that by the time I actually did go to sleep. So I really need to tell my brain to shut up when it's time to go to sleep. I know it's not just me. So I'm going to switch you off now, and I'm going to go play with fabric and see what I would like this backpack to look like. If it doesn't turn out how I want it, well, I can still use it myself. I'm using a handbag, like a shoulder bag right now, which I designed it and made it years ago, and it's lovely, but it's just so nice to have something that sits hands-free on your back and doesn't like pull you one way or another, or you have to kind of grab it and hold it so it doesn't fall off your shoulder. So I'm going to have a little play and I'll let you know how it goes. This is going to be somewhat complicated, I think, so I'm not doing a tutorial, but I just wanted to show you what I've done so far, and I'll sort of update it a little bit as I go through, hoping it works out. So here's what I've done for the front of my backpack. I've done 3 shades of denim seamed together. I pressed the seams open, fused it to Thermolam, which is a fusible fleece. I sewed a snap pocket on the front from another pair of jeans, cut dart openings, so I'll be sewing those once I've finished doing what I need to do with the outside of the pieces. This is my back, just one piece from one leg of jeans, Thermolam on the back. I need to put a zipper pocket in here. I'm going to do an inset zipper pocket. And these are my linings. I'm, cutting into my precious batiks. I've already put my label on this one. I need to put a slip pocket on this one and a zipper pocket inset into this one. That's it so far. Day 2 of the backpack project. Front. This is going to be the flap, I hope, that goes over the top of it and will attach here with a little belt loop. At least that's the plan. See how that works out. It's looking a bit big right now, but we'll see. Back outer with its zipper inset. A couple of drawstring channels ready to go for the top. And I've got my 2 lining pieces. This one now has a slip pocket with a pen section and a wider section. And this one I redid. I was originally going to use a number 3 zipper and it looked awful. So I put my number 5 in there. It's not perfect, but that is ready to go as well. Well, some of it's been a bit of a brain extending challenge, but I've sewn my darts on all 4 pieces now. I have basted these parachute clips on down here with some webbing that came with a bunch of free stuff that I got. I've put the little belt loop right here. It's a little wonky. It will do. And then for the back, I've got the flap. This hook here is what's going to hook into this, hoping I've spaced it right. And after much brainstorming, where I thought I was going to sew my webbing straps underneath here, I decided to add another little bit of black webbing holding a metal O-ring. And then my straps will go in there. So progress is being made. The backpack's finished and I am really pleased with it. The spacing worked perfectly for the flap and the clip. This pocket from another pair of jeans has a snap on it. And I can't do it with one hand. Yes, I can. So there's a little pocket in the front. I did the 3 tones of denim for the front. The back is just 1 jeans leg. So I ended up putting an inserted zip pocket here. Let's just take a moment to admire the beautiful rainbow zipper. And I used pink batik inside there. This caused me a bit of a conundrum for a while. In the end, I used a bit of black webbing, an O-ring, and just sewed these on. These were sewn into the seams with some black webbing. So it's an adjustable strap, and I just hemmed the ends. Also been using my lighter a lot lately because I used it on the ends of the webbing and I also used it on the ends of the drawstring. So we have drawstring channels in the top with the pink cord, which goes with the pink webbing and the pink lining. The lining has a slip pocket on the inside and it has another zipper pocket. The zipper pockets are really roomy. I made them as big as I possibly could. And darted bottom. I think it's awesome. Now the conundrum will be, do I keep it for myself or do I sell it? That will obviously depend on whether I think people are actually going to pay me what it's worth. Because a lot of hours of planning and sewing went into that. So what do you think? I think it's a pretty usable size. I didn't make it super large, but it should be roomy enough to hold all the essentials, plus a bit more. And I love it's got the pink accents and the different shades of denim on there. It challenged me somewhat. The sewing itself wasn't actually that hard. I used a Schmetz denim needle, jeans denim size 90, and my machine, which is just a regular quilting machine, Janome quilting machine, got through everything quite nicely. I like that this holds these straps at a bit of an angle, which is perfect for wearing it. I was a little worried about having these set too low down because I thought if you've got this like this, it's going to kind of slouch. But there is fusible fleece and interfacing holding up the layers, and I think it'll be fine. Oh, I think I'm in need of a cup of tea. The voice is running out. I like the darts. It gives it a more rounded look at the bottom rather than a squared off look, which is what I wanted. So I think we're going to round that up there. I've got a whole bunch of little snippets to cobble together because we went to the garden centre this morning and Costco. Well, obviously, I didn't take any film at Costco, but I got some pretty footage of flowers, which you may have already seen, depending on how I put all this together. I didn't go for a walk. I had my second bad night's sleep in a row last night. Let's just say something violently disagreed with me, and I was up till 3 in the bathroom. Sure, you really needed to know that, but that just means that I was seriously considering a nap this afternoon instead of sewing. But it also meant I didn't want to get too far from the bathroom, so I didn't go out for a walk. So I'm going to go and show him this, and he will probably give me his usual underwhelming response. Isn't it funny how different people react different ways to stuff? If ever I want a really nice reaction to something, and you know, someone who actually sounds interested, living in this house, obviously my friends are interested in what I'm making, but in my family, my middle son is the most interested. You know, I'll show him what I make and he'll make all the appropriate comments and that and actually sound interested, whereas the rest of them couldn't really give a toss. But there you go. I think it's time to go and make another cup of tea. Hope you've enjoyed watching today, seeing my interesting times with my sewing and my fun crochet pants, of course. I hope you've had a good weekend. Coming to the end of Sunday. Tomorrow is my mum's 91st birthday, so I will be phoning her. We have already arranged for her to get some flowers and a little gift. So that's under control. Apart from that, I don't know what the week's going to bring, although there is a promise of warm weather. It was 20 degrees in my backyard yesterday, so I doubt it's going to get any warmer than that at the moment. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.